Vancouver, wow, via West Marin. Vancouver, BC in the house. That's pretty cool. And we're still letting people in. We are almost ready to start. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's start. Let's get going.
Let me see if I can
Two.
think of-
A 1, 2,
Wait,
3.
this is practice.
Oh, okay. Practice round. 1,
She's Lauren's
a 2,
fault.
a 1, 2, 3, 4.
We hate COVID.
That's so true. We hate COVID. That's so true. We hate COVID. That's so true. How about you, my darling? We've been cooped up as long as you. Rather be in Timbuktu. Feel like a monkey in the zoo. How about you, my darling? We hate COVID. That's so true. We hate COVID. That's so true. We hate COVID, that's so true. How about you, my darling?
Yeah.
We got to work with this, but
It's adorable. I love it. We need a committee.
good. I'm so.
I think we should do it.
I think it would be fun if we really just pulled it all together. We show up with, clothes that are fun and funny and.
There we go. Hello. So what were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about that if there's any problem going on, then we can always blame Rich because he started this whole thing.
How, Rich, how does that feel to...
Well, I know that everybody on the committee will jump in and participate, so I'm not worried about it. It's not going to be
good.
overwhelming. We will do it as a group, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the COVID CathARTic event. The Dance Palace Art Committee has been working on this project for almost a year at this point. The idea is that it's a collective patchwork of artists' expressions of their lived experiences throughout the pandemic. Through music, poetry, storytelling, and art. And there will be artists, local artists sharing anywhere from 5 to 85 years old who created their art as a way to cope in times of uncertainty. Some spoke to connections they've missed, some spoke to losses, to silver linings even, or adaptations that they made and will take as they move forward. So we hope you enjoy.
I'm on a mountainside, it begins, where the veil between two worlds grows thin, where all we've lost will someday find beyond a labyrinth. Feather falls and floats down the stream towards spiral shells I found, so it seems. Perhaps within an afterthought, the labyrinth reflects from a dream.
Ace in the hole, turning from the troubled online world, as has been custom since way before the pandemic, to the two-wheel carbon footprint-free ride during shelter-in-place order, to brisk pre-spring swim, in flood tide through the man-made side channel, a swimming hole within which to feel whole. Water wraps me in its liquid quilt. Energy revived by rewired neural pathways. Eternal delight derived from crustacean-feeding otters, shore crabs, the intense patience of egrets, herons, greater yellowlegs, spattering of striper bass minnow schools. I'm whisked back home by endorphin-infused vigor, pushed back uphill by breeze, breathing with the land, humming in my groove until smoke through broken wood stovepipe fills my world back up with the trauma of personal past and present, now inextricably linked to the greater world's woes. We cannot exist in isolation, hiding behind imagined immunity. I tighten back into survival mode for weeks in upheaval at home, the only place I think I can control. My home away from home, my ace in the hole, though now inundated with incoming tide of urban pandemic escapees, must be praised daily, praying for the wellness of its watershed, thanked for its pickleweed, shellfish, and seaweed, to forage from this place, to share with all variety of neighbors, becoming even more essential.
Welcome, everyone. Good to be here. These are a couple of poems written on my Inverness deck, and Kristen has agreed to bring us a little of her beautiful cello music, accompanying a reading of two poems written during the COVID isolation, the pandemic and its isolation. And while sitting on the deck and writing, I was aware of the abundance of life still happening in Mother Nature's palace, shall we say, in Inverness. So here we go. And also I was reading In Watermelon Sugar, Richard Brautigan's sort of a poetic novel. I don't even know if you can call it a novel, but you'll get the title. Here we go. Outside of Watermelon Sugar. Tonight at dusk, a slow, drawling hissing of cars passing on the boulevard, returning from the sea. A moment's silence, then broken by voices down from the beach below. Then again, silence, for what I presume is the presumptuous assumption. A California quail's sad solo, chop, chirp, cheep, almost. Some say it's as if they're saying Chicago, Potawatomi, Chicago, river of the wild onion smell. That's from another poem. The last light failing with glorifying glow on burnt orange leaf of Japanese maple. Now it seems to be a yawning song of an acorn woodpecker. Oh, don't tell me. I wait for another hissing, passing car. A tree frog. Look, an egret coming home, and another close to the shore, both to their cypress nesting. I say, even knowing they cannot hear me, I'm saying it in my mind brain. I say, nighty nighty, see you in the morning. You see, they will wide wing brush crossing the bay to Millerton Point, B&B, Gopher Delight. Oops. First silent blind bat. It's getting dark. Good night, Inverness, California. Another of being outside. It's morning with that lucky old sun rising behind and above those gray-black streaking clouds, and this time with a soft brushing of burnt orange. I think I'll just watch for a while. What's that? The wild of the red-shouldered hawk. He's taloned a quail fledgling, a fist grip. Head tilts left, tilts right, as if aloof. And this followed by a woodpecker's refrain. Or is it a response, a riposte? And then the mourning doves, mournful, quails wailing, oh, oh, good morning, Inverness. Now for some morning jazz. Squirrel bark and a leap from mansard roof to a fire pine, a bishop's scurry cratching up to the top limb. Raised full-tailed trundle to the cone cluster. Green cone, brown cone, no matter. Nutrients galore and conifers, chips everywhere beneath. Time to sweep the deck. What the heck?
We haven't mentioned, and that's the kids' art.
Yeah. I was
You
going
want
to
to
bring
speak to that? Because
Well,
children's
Lucy,
art
do you
is
wanna-
really...
Lucy.
Yeah, I would do that. I just think it's important to consider the kids in all of this because it's been such a drag for them too. And imagine yourself being a child through this pandemic and having so much fear, you know? And fear is not healthy to hold inside. And so for kids to be able to express that and some of the sacrifices they had to make with regard to masks and just not being able to hug grandma.
and vice versa.
Exactly. I missed the hugs the most.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
for sure. So yeah, I think that it'll be wonderful and intriguing to see what kids come up with. And particularly, I think one little subgroup that's lost is like people who are in a senior in high school. Imagine what they had to go through in terms of what's normal and what is completely not. So my heart goes out to them, and I'm hoping to see some interesting things.
Okay, an A? Sure.
Now we have no excuses.
All right.
That was the best one for
I
me.
think so.
My hands hurt.
Thank you, Pajama Trio, for sharing your amazing music with us. And next we have Claire Peasley sharing her piece, What Now?, which is a solo action theater improvisation piece. She wanted to share with us that action theater is improvisation that arises in the moment, that most people suppose or even conclude that it's premeditated or even written. But instead, the magic of the form is that it's entirely spontaneous, though there's training behind the vessel, she says, or the performer. And so we hope you enjoy.
May I just say how lovely and surprising it is to find oneself speaking of one in the third person singular as if that is some sort of refined sensibility from days of yore. And yet, surprising is exactly what we're talking about. We are talking about something worth spending time talking about, are we not? And who is the we? Who's the we? Who's the first person plural business that, oh, it's so annoying. When a singular person stands in front of you and says, we have found certain therapeutic values in certain practices that we have originated over time when we who, we were who, we, us, you, them, I have. Excuse me. Oh, how egotistical, how egocentric, oh, how ego annoying, oh, how ego offensive, oh, how sorry. This is absolutely necessary, even though it looks self-indulgent. It has to happen once in a while, or else social behaviors go all to, I won't say the word. We don't say that word in our family, in our very fun and cultured community, which is always so polite and so refined and so well spoken. Who's talking? Who's talking? Who is talking? Who's listening? And what happened to all the spaces? The delicious, open, empty moments. Which got stacked up into layers and layers and layers of thick time. Hard to move through. Scratchy. Kind of stinky. No way out except to kick and stomp the moments, kick and stomp them into little dusty piles of sand and kick and scrape and pretend that your shoes are not sandy. Oh, apologies. Polite, second person plural. Apologies to all. Farewell.
Hello. Can you hit? Sometimes the mic, a little bit action, but there, I think that it so, sorry. Before I go any further, I'd just like to thank everyone who's made this online audition possible. Particularly, I'd like to thank Actors Equity and the technological ads at So it's just made everything so much easier. It's very different from when I auditioned for The Lion King. When I got the Drama Desk nomination, and I had to. They flew me out to New York, and I had to do Julie, and I sang a song. So this is different, but it's the future. I should let you know that they are working on the internet outside, and sometimes it's a little for you out in New York. So, yeah. So I have chosen Shakespeare for this audition. It's not a role I've ever, but I am familiar. I know the play, and well, I have the text right. It's right here. It's in front of me. So in case but I probably. And I brought a bunch of props, technological sort of, just so that you can get an idea of where I might. So here goes. Thank you. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. The swelling crowd. Scene. The swelling scene. The swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars. Pardon, gentles all, the flat, unworthy scaffold. Can France? Wouldn't the air at Agincourt. Everything seems to be working fine now. But I'm afraid I've just run out of time.
Hi, I'm Claire Blotter, and I'm going to read a poem that was published in the San Francisco Chronicle in the early days of the pandemic, and it's also on their website. It's called Graffiti on Pandemic Street. On the redwood-lined streets of my neighborhood, children have drawn happy faces, hearts, flowers, slogans in pink and blue pastel chalk. We'll get through this together. Stay healthy. We've got your back. I step carefully over intricate mazes, hopscotch diagrams, signed by Blake and Courtney, but hesitate at the steepest turn. The giant monster's face covering the entire width of a narrow road. I breathe deeply, cross over growling open mouth, fangs, pointed lapping tongue. Then the meanest eyes I've ever seen, eyebrows slanted in a sinister growl, as two mysterious antennae curl slightly at the ends, scour the air for their next victim. It's hard not to cower to this creepy virus. Its ominous glare overshadowing all those good wishes and smiling emojis. Until one gray day, rain washes it all away.
And next up, we have Kylie Clark performing her original song.
Well, I'm stressed. Got 10 new assignments hanging over my head. I'm a mess. Always worried about how I look or how I dress. Screen time's going up. There's no motivation to get dressed or even get up. I wanna get out of bed, talk to a friend, but it pulls me back in. 'Cause I get shaky when I come off mute, and I'm scared to talk on the Zoom. I don't know what I'm doing, crying in my room. I get shaky when I come off mute, and I'm scared to talk on the Zoom. I don't know what I'm doing, crying in my room. But I'm glad to see you're doing well. I hope maybe you'd ask me about myself, instead of hanging up the phone to talk to someone else. I know we're both going through it, but I miss you. I wanna live like we used to do. I'm glad to see you're doing well. I hope maybe you'd ask me about myself, instead of hanging up the phone to talk to someone else. I know we're both going through it, but I miss you. I wanna live like we used to do. I miss you. And the smell of eating candy in your room, and crying from laughing at 2 a.m. in your kitchen when we're supposed to be in bed. But I remember I'm in a Zoom, and that was all in my head, under pressure and stressed to get it done on time, but I really couldn't care less. I wanna get out of bed, talk to a friend, but it pulls me back in. 'Cause I get shaky when I come off mute, and I'm scared to talk on the Zoom. I don't know what I'm doing, crying in my room. 'Cause I get shaky when I come off mute, and I'm scared to talk on the Zoom. I don't know what I'm doing, crying in my room. But I'm glad to see you're doing well. I hope maybe you'd ask me about myself, instead of hanging up the phone to talk to someone else. I know we're both going through it, but I miss you. I wanna live like we used to do. I'm glad to see you're doing well. I hope maybe you'd ask me about myself, instead of hanging up the phone to talk to someone else. I know we're both going through it, but I miss you. I wanna live like we used to do.
Thank you so much, Kylie, for sharing your music with us. And up next, we have Larry Tolbert, who is a local poet who will be performing 2 poems for us called No Numbers No and Pandemic Birthday Greeting.
I've been asked to share a couple of the poems I wrote that are pandemic related. This first poem, you'll recall back when the pandemic first started, most of us were really sheltering in place, even from close family members. And this poem is how I felt about being away from my granddaughter. It's called No Numbers No, for Stella Quinn Tolbert. Stuck at home, struck by the cold, empty arrogance of numbers, with special dislike for number 4, as I shelter separately in place from my sweet granddaughter. 4 months since last together, 4 months since last we've touched, laughed, and played, and you've just turned 4. The 4 miles between us may as well be 4,000 light years away. Each of us, our own star-flung galaxy with dark vacuum voids surround, or perhaps more like 2 planets in fixed nearby orbit, destined to remain apart. Numbers 4 and 4,000, though clear-sighted measures, can never see, never sense that which is true. No numbers know that one pre-pandemic playday was fuller, sweeter, more timeless, when spent in closeness with you. And just as fixed orbits can hail from a distance, yet know they'll never touch, a map made by human hand can never be true to the territory of so much. Because here in the land of love where we live, my star child, there's no grid to map how distance feels when we're apart, and no calipers to measure the unbounded love and limitless longing of the human heart. And my second poem relates to the fact that my birthday is in the 3rd week of March. And this was written in late March 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I call it Pandemic Birthday Greeting. How was my birthday, you ask, my friend from 1,000 miles away? As you might imagine, quiet, wife and I at home, 2 sheltered-in-place Californians, with all electronic, late-breaking bad news silent and shuttered in place. Embraced over phone by family and friends like you, precious moments, physical distance, emotional closeness, reminding me what truly matters in this uncertain slice of a life, all the while saddened by worldwide tales, not enough and no work, rainy day golden year treasures, avalanche buried in multiple market slides, reminding me of the unrelenting stress in our own and other lands and the compounding heartbreak of loved ones lost forever. Saddened by everyday tales, pandemic panic shoppers jostling, racing, grabbing from the shelf that last lonely can of beans. Not that I needed reminding of fear, that most powerful of all emotions. In kindergarten, I'm sure they all learned how to share and did reasonably well until the end of the world as we've known it. Reminded nonetheless, rethinking, reviewing, to err is human, to forgive also human. So I thank you for warm birthday wishes, and I ask that you join me in these troubled times. Hold others in your heart as I hold you in mine. Be healthy, happy, strong, my friend, and know one day, at long last, this too shall pass. Thank you.
I think Thank you so much for making us laugh, Jess Hoyle. Laughing is an amazing medicine that we all need right now. And that video was called Delete by Jeff Hoyle. So thank you. And we want to introduce Maria Moldar. Thank you so much, Maria, for submitting a piece to us for this event. Maria Moldar is a local blues and folk singer, and she will be sharing a song with us that we think speaks for itself.
It was a year we will never forget, by far one of the worst ones yet. And when the whole world got shut down, I had to stay home, no more running around. It's been so long since I've been on a date, but the time is coming and I just can't wait. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. I've been praying to the heavens above. Please send me someone I can kiss and hug. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. Wearing a mask and staying 6 feet apart doesn't make it easy to share your heart. Stuck in a bubble now, it's about to burst. My heart is aching and the pain is the worst. I sheltered in place just like I knew I should. Now I'm gonna get some loving while the getting is good. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. I've been praying to the heavens above. Please send me someone I can kiss and hug. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. I'm ready for love and a whole lot more. I'm ready for someone knocking on my door. I'm looking for romance now that I got my shot. I'm gonna give it everything I got. Well, love isn't easy under normal circumstance. Social distance is a hell of a dance. It's been such a long time since I've been kissed. There's so much good loving that I've missed. I've held on for long enough. Now I need to feel me that magic touch. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. I've been praying to the heavens above. Please send me someone I can kiss and hug. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love. Vaccinated and I'm ready for love. I've been praying to the heavens above. Please send me someone I can kiss and hug. 'Cause I'm vaccinated and I'm ready for love.
Hi, friends in West Marin. I'm so happy to be part of this celebration and to bring my little part, which will be some poems that I published in a book that I helped to curate. And it is called Pandemic Puzzle Poems. And I did paint the cover. So that's one of the things I was up to during COVID. During the lockdown, I was actually in this room a lot of the time. This is my living room. And so I was also teaching. So I spent a lot of time on Zoom, a lot of time on video. That's how we taught in those days. And And the first one was a lesson that I was designing for my 6th grade students at Mill Valley Middle School. And, we were all going through this together as this whole event is celebrating. And I wanted them to write instructions for themselves out of some wise voice that they might dig down and find. And in order to do that, I decided to write a sample poem in order for them to get an idea of what I meant. And there were certain ingredients in the poem I was asking for. And so I wrote a poem with those ingredients. And this is advice to myself. It is called How to Befriend Uncertainty. And that's really what I was after. There we were, just to say a little more. In those early days, it was just so utterly uncertain what was going to come. And it still is. Here we are. How to befriend uncertainty. Come, sit by the window, near the birds who have shaken off their dreams and opened themselves to this never to be again day. Today we won't be asked to bumble along the beaten byways, for uncertainty is our house guest. Put on the water, set out the homemade jam. Uncertainty will listen with us as our bagels pop from the toaster's dark mouth and the coffee grounds weep their bitter sobs. Uncertainty is mystery's love child. No history, no proper name, but she has always been with us. She is the one who wakes us to drizzle new questions into our day, new stories, new colors and light. The wind is her breath. Her body is the water we drink and bathe in. Uncertainty, with her barefoot dancing gypsy soul, knows the unpaved roads to gratitude by heart. But of certain things, like tomorrow, she knows nothing. And because of this, her love knows no bounds. And the last poem I'd like to share with you is one that was my assignment, given to me by the muse. Sometimes it has nothing to do with me in a certain way, or maybe everything. I don't know how to say it. But a lot of what I did in the early days of the pandemic, once I could do this, I remember for a while the lakes were closed, the reservoirs in Marin, up toward West Marin. And that's one of my other places of worship, actually, is Lake Lagunitas. And so finally, when I could walk there, I went every morning during that summer. And that was my way of listening, I guess is the best way to say it. And of course, there was no travel. There was no going anywhere further than Lake Lagunitas and Limiter Beach. And that was kind of the limits of my travel. And I have some grandchildren. They're African American, partly descent, and my heart is with them always. Day of distancing. Enter the ways of morning, the body of morning, the waking of bee and leaf, spider and newt, the way morning sun catches in the threads that shuttle thoughts between the trees, visible only in this light. Have you noticed how, when we finally let go, all we've ever wanted comes? By which I mean love. Not the come and go, flare and fade kind, but love is a cloud of gnats you can walk through, or is a kingfisher's impossible stillness on his branch above the lake. How did we come to think we had no time for this? These days seem mostly to give us ourselves over and over, happy to take us, break us open, wider, deeper, more true. My grandsons want to visit, all four of them, strong and singular as the four directions, and my sable-skinned granddaughter, queen of the night. I want to take each one in my arms. Oh, what the hell, I say when no one is listening. Let me die of hugging. But instead, I stay inside and hold them here, distanced and masked. Most things are smaller now, except for what's big. Like when the heart breaks open each day and sets loose the strands the weavers will use in the night, threading them at lake's edge to catch the morning light. Day of distancing. So I hope this brings you closer to your own loved ones and hearts. And thank you so much for being part of my world. And thank you, Dance Palace, one of my favorite places to dance.
All up in the air. The intermittent masses of low cumulus ride the blue vault, properly distanced, like us these days. I bask under bright, burning sun, only for so long, until the next mask of cloud blocks the light from a guy hoping to rest easy by getting soaked to the bone by the heat of well-being. The serious side of the skies denies such California bliss of blinders on to the viral mess made in the name of the lie of endless clear skies on economic horizons. When the clouds all rejoin, will they dump viral rain, wiping us out, or wipe us clean to make for a new way of human being?
Envoi. We're signing up for heartbreak. We know one day we'll rue it. But oh, the way our life lights up, the years a dog runs through it.
And welcome, thank you, Dance Palace, the True Blue Community Center. When I heard of CathARTic event, it was right up my alley. I've done so much theater in the Dance Palace, the old and the new Dance Palace. I grew up in the Dance Palace, I used to say. My daughter was actually born upstairs in the old Dance Palace. So I heard of CathARTic event, and I said, well, I want to participate. And I heard this song, and I called my friend Axel, and we learned the song, and we were singing it, and I said, you know, we should do this for the CathARTic event. And he called some of his buddies, and Van came, and Kristen came, and Ross came, Jack came, and we all got together to do this Jackson Browne song to remind you of our sacred ocean not too far to the west of here. It's called Downhill from Everywhere. Downhill from the prison, downhill from the mall, downhill from the factory, farm, and hospital. Downhill from the border wall, downhill from the high school, downhill from the gym, downhill from the church and the stadium. Downhill from the baby's room, downhill from the office, downhill from the bar, downhill from the theme park and family car. Downhill from the happy hour, downhill from everywhere, downhill from all you see. The ocean is downhill from gravity, downhill from here, downhill from everywhere, downhill from all of humanity. Downhill from the silver screen, downhill from the Anthropocene, downhill from the vineyard, downhill from the mine, downhill from the fruited plain and bottom line. Downhill from Columbine, downhill from the racetrack, downhill from the news, downhill from sponsors and camera crews. Downhill from the born to lose, downhill from God's golden shore, downhill from the grocery store, downhill from the Senate floor, K Street and the never-ending war, downhill from everywhere, downhill from all you see. The ocean is the last stop for gravity. Downhill from here, downhill from everywhere. All mankind's ambition and vanity. Do you think of the ocean as yours? Because you need the ocean to breathe. Every second breath you take
coming from the sea. We don't really know, because we don't really see. Do you think of the ocean as yours? Do you think about it at all? Downhill from the campus, downhill from the loom. Downhill from the funeral home. Downhill from the laptop, downhill from the troll. Downhill from the Russian doll. Downhill from the NRA. Downhill from the GOP. Downhill from the ICE. And your huddled masses yearning to be free. To be free, yeah, yeah.
And that's our show. I wanted to say thank you so much to all the amazing local artists for sharing your experiences with us, for sharing from the heart. Each one is a whole world and is so personal and raw and connects us to some piece of the COVID experience. And the intention here is that creates catharsis as a collective process. So thank you. And up next, we have some closing words from the art committee.
Anything else? I certainly think that having a way to process stuff is very important to each of us individually. That we, in a situation like a year and a half of being cut loose from so many things that have carried us in terms of relationships and open public spaces and sharing food and family together. Being able to talk about that is as important as anything I can think of to recognize we have been through a common event together. I have carried X, Y, and Z burden or problem, and now I'm talking about it. I'm getting rid of it. I'm leaving it behind. It is something that I'm not going to be carrying forward with me because I've been given the opportunity to hear other people talk about the same thing from different points of view, from a musician's point of view, from somebody telling a story, the poetry that people wrote to express what was going on in them during this whole time period. And I'm going to get something out of that. And having that available for anybody at all ages in our community is
cathartic.
It is cathartic.
Yeah.
It is cathartic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. We're thrilled that this event happened and that you all participated. We'd like you to hold on for 3 more minutes, if you would, while we tell you about the learning tree, which is something that we plan to do if we were in person, but we can't do it right at the moment. So we've got another way to make it happen and would like to engage you in participating. The learning tree came, I'm going to tell you about the origin of it, where the idea came from, and then we'll also tell you more about the value of it and how to participate. On the day of 9/11 in Berkeley, in the neighborhood I lived in, a group of us came together and established a meeting place that was big enough to hold 100, 150 people. And people, we put up signs and it filled up that night with people wanting to have a place to be comforted, to talk, to engage with each other. It turned out to be a place where art was done, where plants were brought. We had it filled with flowers and candles that first night. And it was a place for people to belong. What we wanted for, what happened was that we ended up stringing a fishing line around this huge perimeter, providing cards that children and adults could write on to express what they were thinking about this whole event, what they were adapting to, what they were grateful for, in terms that a lot of them said having a place to be together and to feel community, what they were afraid of and what they hoped would happen and what they worried about for the people who were engaged in this and the families. That was the beginning of the idea of the learning tree, being able to have people express what they were going through and have the ability to come and read what other people had said and discover the common experience.
Following Rich's introduction, we began forming lists of probing questions and revising them as time passed and variants came along. In our community, a few people had largely easy times during COVID, others not so, with varying degrees and lengths of illness, isolation, job loss, working while ill, anxiety, depression, and children who were deprived of education and play. Many, however, using our prompts, spoke of gaining more information, more options, and some relief to know that their experiences were not unique, and they were more ready to consider changes that would allow them to move forward. We hope that you will explore the prompts, make choices of which ones you want to explore, and write your response to share with others with no need to identify yourself.
Oh, if you want to participate, which we really hope you will, there are a few ways you can do it. Tomorrow, we'll be sending out a link through email to access our virtual learning tree through SurveyMonkey. And remember that SurveyMonkey isn't really, you don't have to treat it as a survey. This is more of a place for you to express yourself. You can click the link and respond to as many of those prompts that Sydney mentioned as you'd like. We'll be collecting responses anonymously and then sharing them with the community in the following months. Then on May 14th, we're going to have an actual physical tree where you can post your feelings, reflections, and learnings. That can be drawings, answers to questions, whatever, at the Dance Palace's 50th anniversary celebration. You'll also be able to walk around and read other people's responses on the trees. So I hope you'll join us.
I'm really excited and happy to announce that we've established a Facebook group, and it's a private group where we have posted, or we will be posting, key questions or prompts to start a conversation, a place to bring forward and exchange thoughts and images about the effect that COVID has had on our life. If you'd like to join the private Facebook group, we will be sending out an email giving you the link, which you can just click and be on it. We hope for it to be inspiring and CathARTic. Maybe we'll see you there. We hope so. Just want to thank you so much for being here and hope it's been helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome again, and thank you for coming. This has been an ecstatic event for all of us that got to participate, and I hope it felt that way to you too. What I would really love from you, if you would consider it, is to go to the chat and let us know what spoke to you from this whole event that we put together. It could be one thing, it could be a bunch of things, but we want to hear what spoke to you, what went into you and ignited something. We'd be really grateful if you would put that in the chat. Well, thank you again. It's been a joy all the way through this. It's wonderful to have had you all contributing as you have, both in terms of the smiles on your faces as we watched you on Zoom and what you're writing at this point. Remember, we're going to have a 50th anniversary on May 14th, and it's going to be a major celebration with some very big surprises. So I hope you'll join us then. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Have a good night.